this is a picture of Kenneth and the
Cowbell, probably.
yeah, he was ringing the cowbell for the dining hall, and there were a lot of delicious meals that came out of that dining.
You know who these are?
That's me. That's my cousin Ravenel, sister Amie, and this is Clara, I believe.
It's Clara.
Clara, my cousin.
Is this Annie?
Amie is right there.
Yeah. You haven't changed much.
Oh, not a bit. I love that picture. I want to see it too. Oh, but Kenneth was special.
See, Mike and Ravenel and Amie and who's that?
Clara.
That's Clara. Oh, I like her little cute little haircut.
Ain't that precious?
So,
Because we didn't know.
Who was Clara?
Clara's
She
my
does.
cousin. That
her
her dad was Uncle Hussein. But what I remember about Saluda in the summertime is all of the children and the doctors who were here to do the lectures. They were allowed to bring their families, and they stayed in the cottages on the hill, and so we had plenty of playmates. You know.
That's why we never knew anybody in Saluda, because
Right.
there were too many of us.
It was wonderful.
So,
Built-in camp.
Yeah.
That was like that when I was growing up too.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
And the seminar hall, I remember we would go in the evening, and they would have slideshows. And also, one of the doctors was he had, what would you call it?
Ventriloquist?
Well, there was some of that, but it was just pure entertainment. Magic shows. You remember some of that?
Remember Unc had you draw on your hand? He was head of pediatrics at Vanderbilt, and he had all these little stories. He'd tell stories about the Indians in the tents, and he'd draw all over your hand. Oh, he was the cutest man.
But a lot of them would come back year after year, especially the detail men who were here to promote whatever the wares, whether it was Gerber baby food and beech nut. I remember those.
White laboratories.
But they helped finance the school.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
they certainly did.
Yes.
And Dr. Smith was the one that invented the tablet, wasn't he?
That's what we've been told.
I read that.
That's what we.
It was
understand.
called sunshine flower, and they used to make it in Spartanburg too. What they would do is they would take cheesecloth and put flour in it, and they would cook it in a pot, and it'd be real hard, but it was pre-cooked. And then they would take it and grind it up and let it sit out in the sun on the roof. And the sun would I don't know what it did to it, but then you could pour milk with it, and then you could eat it. Daddy was called the Sunshine Baby because he just was allergic to everything. He was allergic to all kind of milk and this, that, and other. And so many babies had this, and they couldn't digest the food. So when they did this, it was kind of like it was pre-digested.
Yes.
And then they grind it up, and he gave it to Pablum, was that me, Johnson, or something like that.
It was Similac.
No, that's
No,
milk.
that's milk.
Where was
They added the water to it, I think.
Yeah.
You said milk.
Milk.
They
I
added
don't
water
know,
to
but all I know is Daddy would tell me how they'd have to grind it, and they would grind it up, because at the time when Papa had the hospital, when it started, there were no medicines. Sulfur, they didn't have sulfur. They didn't have any antibiotics. There was nothing. the only way you could treat children and babies was diet and the climate, where they lived. And so people brought children up from the lower part of the state, and the granddaddy really believed that food was really important, because that's the only way you could treat.
We didn't have any other. We didn't have any.
No medicines, but you could, they would inspect them. I remember Dad telling me that they go and check out the wells because typhoid, and to eradicate that. And but that's how they treated children.
That's all they had.
That's about all they had. They had some medicines called bismuth, violet, and they had some other things. But I've got Papa's medicine cabinet that used to be in the hospital.
This is production of this souvenir program was made possible by the generosity of the following companies who exhibit annually at the seminar.
What?
And it's the Borden Company, E.R. Squibb and Sons. I don't know this, Lederle Laboratories, Lederle would be the one. Mead Johnson and Company, Table Rock Laboratories, White Laboratories, Van Pelt and Brown, SMA Corp, Wyeth, and M&R Dietetic Laboratories.
3738 edition of Saluda magazine says Saluda without Smith Hill, the home of Dr. Lassane Smith's Infants and Children's Sanitarium and Southern Pediatric Seminar, would be a very lonesome place. I don't have my glasses. Hundreds of babies come here during the season to be given expert attention by this gifted pediatrician and his assistants. The coming of the doctors for the seminar is eagerly awaited as a highlight of the season. Although much of their time is spent in study, they add greatly to the social life of the town. In the next issue of the Saluda magazine, we hope to have much information about the activities of Smith's Hill.
What year is that?
So maybe in this issue they'll have that, I don't know. And then
Were those written, are all of these summer editions?
this is autumn, winter.
Oh, autumn, winter. Okay.
Spring.
They were lonely by the time this came out because y'all had all gone.
This was spring of 1937.
Okay.
That's when I was born. A little bit later than that.
I hope we can get this
Well,
reprinted.
they started
They're
in
just-
36 and went through 38, 8 issues. And we had them reprinted at one time.
Yeah,
And
some of
we
these are
looked to
reprinted.
see if it
Well,
had
it was a
more.
reprint.
Yeah.
Some of mine are reprints, but this is the
This is,
original.
these are all
All of these
original.
are original, yes.
And why did she stop? Do you know?
Later on, I found some information where she had TB. And she died, I think, in a sanatorium in Black
Who
Mountain.
would have been the Lassane Smith that came to see me about 4 or 5 years ago?
That was Robert.
That was Robert. He was trying to locate the engine that's in the bottom of Lake Summit.
No.
That's right. Robert, that's.
I knew Robert had done it because he was looking for that marble.
Right, but he wanted to find the train, the engine.
Mm-hmm. Into a creek on the other side.
No.
And there's 2 carloads of cattle. And only one old cow survived.
How about the people?
Well, they bailed out when they were.
It was just the workers, it wasn't a passenger train.
There's one hobo on the train, and those cars that were left on the track just would go up and down the track. And when he finally got stopped, he said, "I wish that engineer would make up his mind which way he's going." And someone informed him that all the engine and the cars were over on the other side of the mountain.
God.
Never heard that.
It was really going fast then.
Oh, yeah, flying. They used to stop right there on Main Street and tighten the brakes on all the cars.
Oh,
I remember
yes.
hearing.
You remember that? Yeah.
That one we do.
And
You remember going on that train? We'd go down to Tryon.
Light up.
And go down there, and then you get back on, then you ride back up.
One time, a passenger train was coming up the mountain, and the track gave way, and it just was laying over on its side. Down is a curve down there on the mountain.
Which curve
I don't know. I need to walk it again.
that was? Where is you walking?
You walk it from up here down to,
Melrose.
down to the, tunnel.
Oh, to the tunnel.
See, there were two families that came here with the building of the railroad. The Pearson family that lived at Melrose,
Mm-hmm.
and the Tanner family that lived here. And Mr. Andrew Tanner was the first mayor of Saluda.
Oh, really?
Hmm. And he had a hotel almost where the Spartanburg Baby Hospital was located.
Hmm.
And his sons or grandsons were still living in my day. His name was Andrew, and one of his sons was named Andrew. I remember Andrew Tanner.
Well,
He's
Mr.
been
Leland,
there.
Mr. Leland with
He
the,
is
he
in
had
here.
his own telephone company.
They owned the telephone company. Yeah.
And from what I remember, my father saying that Papa lent him the money to get started with his company.
He probably had an interest in getting it started.